A very good morning to all our viewers. It is a rainy day, but we have a lot lined up for you. You've joined us live on this broadcast on Moneycontrol. The show is called Newspresso with me, Stacy Pereira. And as the drill goes, in the next few minutes, you're going to be getting a lowdown of all the action from across the globe, what the Fed is doing, what the corporate India is turning out in terms of their earning numbers, as well as those latest trends to keep you informed and give you that edge. So let's get straight to it and get us all that we have from our global dispatch. Well, if you look at it, Wall Street, that one ended yesterday's trading session on a mixed note, one would say. The Dow Jones finishing just about 82 points higher, rising for the 13th straight session, though. Meanwhile, we also had the S&P 500, which ended marginally flat, finishing just 0.02% lower, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq, that one losing about 0.12%. But while we look at the futures right now linked to these averages, those are trading mildly lower. Now, in stock-specific action, we did see Meta Platforms, where the shares popped nearly 7% post-market close after the better-than-expected results and a stronger guidance, whereas Chipotle, that one plunged about 9% as sales fell short of estimates. And the U.S. Federal Reserve, that one has gone ahead and raised benchmark's lending rates on Wednesday to the highest level since 2001. This in order to tackle the above targeted inflation and also signaling that a possible further increases ahead. The quarter percentage point rate lifts the Fed's key lending rates to the range between 5.25% to 5.5%. The 25 basis point hike is also in line with estimates and is 11th hike by the Fed since it began its aggressive campaign since March of last year in response to rising rates. Now, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell went on to add that the central bank will continue to access additional information in order to help it determine the extent of additional policy firming that will be needed and also the implications on monetary policy. Let's listen in to what the Fed chair had to say.
I watched that very carefully. The March and April readings were weak, were sideways, as you say. But there's good reason to think that we're still on that path of gradual increase. In particular, spending data has been pretty strong. Labor market data has been pretty strong. So if those things continue, then I would expect that they would continue to put some upward pressure on inflation and we continue to move back to 2%. But this is the thing where we have to show our commitment to getting to 2%. So we've got to be guided by the incoming data.
So will it be a hike or a pause in the September one? We'll have to wait and see. But meanwhile, we did see European markets, that one closed in lower yesterday in anticipation of what the Fed would really go ahead and do. The benchmark stock 600, that one closed provisionally down about 0.6%, while most of the sectors were in the negative territory. France's CAC 40, in fact, fell 1.4% as a luxury goods behemoth, that is the house that hosts Louis Vuitton, that one dropped about 5% after reporting a surprise slowdown in its U.S. sales, while Rolls-Royce, those shares were up about 20% after hiking its forecast. Now, investors will now shift focus to the central bank as the ECB will now decide on the monetary policy for the euro region later today. And Asia-Pacific markets have started this Thursday on a positive note, pretty much digesting all of those cues that have come in overnight. Also, taking in Chairman Powell's comments there, the Japan's Nikkei 225 has climbed about 0.12% in trade. South Korea's Kospi is also trading higher by about 0.78%. Australia's S&P ASX 200 has opened up higher, one would say, into the opening trade, whereas Hang Seng as well as mainland Chinese indices all are trading just marginally higher. On the commodities front, well, oil prices fell by about 1% on Wednesday, but have paired losses since then. We saw the data show it coming in from US, where the crude inventories have fallen lesser than expected, as well as the Fed decision now having that overhang. Both benchmarks fell by more than $1 per barrel in the previous session after nearly hitting that 3-month high that we saw on Tuesday. Now, U.S. crude inventories, those drew by about 600,000 barrels last week. And remember, the higher interest rate increases the borrowing cost for businesses as well as consumers, which then could slow the economic growth and then further reduce oil demand. So this is all that's working in for the traders in the oil markets, really. And that's why we're looking at oil trade around Brent crude trade around that $83 per barrel mark. Now, let's also get you a recap of what transpired in trade here back home on the Lal Street. We did see the indices managing to snap that two-day losing streak. Both the Nifty and Sensex ending half a percentage point higher in trade yesterday, with the Nifty just within touching distance of that 19,800 mark again. Financial services, those were the ones that were leading the gains, as well as Reliance Industries. We saw that stock prop up higher. Bank Nifty, that one snapped its three-day losing streak to gain in line with those blue chip stocks. Now, interestingly, we can see the GIFT Nifty, which is witnessing a record single-day trading activities of more than 3.14 lakh contracts that were signed in yesterday, and the turnover being a record high of nearly $12.4 billion. This happened on the 25th of July. Now, traded contract volumes have witnessed a growth of over 840%, while turnover value has seen growth of 925% ever since this shift has happened from the SGX to the GIFT Nifty. Now, the GIFT Nifty, though, today is indicating a gap up start for the Indian markets. Let's also give you a quick take through all the earnings that transpired and came in last evening. We had private lender Axis Bank, who reported a strong number in the first quarter, despite missing most of those street estimates. Now, the bank's net profits have risen about 40% on a year-on-year basis, while net interest income has jumped 27%, I beg your pardon. Asset quality has come in a mixed bag. If you look at the gross NPAs, those have improved sequentially, while the net NPAs, those have marginally declined. Meanwhile, shares of Bajaj Finance, that was the other NBFC putting out its numbers, those declined in trade yesterday after those numbers came out. Net interest income seeing a growth of more than 27%, but this was slightly below what was estimated for the company. Now, the net interest margins have also declined below 10%. And profits, those have beat estimates, coming in 32% higher. Now, bad loans, they remain below 1%, and the new loan growth has in fact hit a record high when it comes to Bajaj Finance. We're going to see how these stocks really move in trade today. But moving on, we also saw Tech Mahindra come out with its numbers, and it's been quite a washout for IT companies, so to say, and Tech Mahindra was no different. The company's revenues have fallen by 4%, coming in at 13,519 crore rupees, missing analyst estimates by quite a mark. The company's net profits too have plunged 38% on a YOY basis, coming in at 692.5 crore rupees. Though the CEO, CP Gurnani, says that this quarter has been challenging and revenue growth will be facing strong headwinds, he also goes on to add that the company will overcome this temporary setback. And from the pharma space, we had three companies, namely Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, as well as GlaxoSmithKline, that declared its numbers. If you look at Dr. Reddy, that one managed to beat estimates with an 18% jump in profits, coming in at 1,402.5 crores. The company had a one-time gain of $72 million in the base quarter that it had received from British drug maker Endeavour. Now, this has come in because of a settlement in its patent litigation for the generic drug. Now, Indian markets revenue has fallen for the company by about 14%. If you look at Cipla, that one showed some strong US sales growth and a sustained domestic momentum, helping that Q1 net profit number beat estimates, growing at about 45% and coming in at 996 crore rupees. The drug maker reported an EBITDA of 1,494 crore rupees, which has grown by about 30% on a YOY basis. And well, ever since the demerger, we have seen a lot of action happen and transpire over Jio Financial Services, which has been making headlines. But even before it officially lists out there, we are seeing this separate entity come up with more M&As. Now, this time, Jio Financial Services Limited, or JFS as we know it, and BlackRock have announced to create a JV called Jio BlackRock, which will be a 50-50 JV. Now, Jio BlackRock will combine BlackRock's expertise in investment management, risk management and technology with Jio Financial Services' local market knowledge as well as digital infrastructure. The joint venture aims to introduce new players to the Indian market with a unique scope as well as scale, and each of the partners plan to initially invest about $150 million into this JV to provide a comfortable, you would say, investment solution to Indian markets as well as investors. And news from the corridors of power. Well, the Lok Sabha has been on and it has been a logjam ever since the Parliament session began. But yesterday we saw the passage of the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill. Now, this new bill will redefine the classification of what forests and free up unrecorded forest land for the upcoming development projects. Now, the bill will also exempt unrecorded forest land within 100 kilometers of international borders for projects of national importance as well as concerning national security. But this would leave a large part of the northeastern states quite vulnerable. Most large tracts of forest land in the northeast is unrecorded, and forest cover counts for almost 65% of the geographical area of the 8 states in the northeast. But it is also unclear if the bill will supersede the Forest Rights Act, which gives a self-cultivation habitation rights to specific forest dwellers. So we'll have to see the contours of this deal. But for now, the Forest Conservation Bill being passed in the Lok Sabha. And well, to all the latest trends and tech that you need to be looking out for, well, are you ready to join the flip side? Well, if you are a tech enthusiast, this is some really exciting news that we saw. Samsung has gone ahead and unveiled that Galaxy Z flip phone last evening. Samsung has launched 2 new folding phones that are thinner and much lighter than the previous models. And for more information on this, Moneycontrol was on ground at Samsung's launch event in Seoul. Here's a look at what we got.
This is the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 and this is the new Fold 5. I am here at Samsung Unpacked, the company's flagship foldable event in Seoul, to check out if this year's Fold 5 and Flip 5 have made meaningful gains or if it's yet another conservative year for the foldable OGs. Now this year, the biggest upgrades come to the Galaxy Z Flip. It's a pocketable flagship and it's predictably getting this season's most awaited feature, a larger cover screen. Clocking in at 3.4 inches, it's bigger than what you'd find on the Oppo Find N2 Flip. That's not the only upgrade though. The company has worked hard to reduce the crease on the display and the Z Flip 5 looks like a significant step up over the Flip 4 in that regard. The phone is slimmer too when folded thanks to a newly engineered hinge mechanism right here. Prefer something a bit more larger? Let's switch over to the Z Fold 5 then. Unfortunately, Samsung is reusing most of the design from last year's Z Fold 4 and the upgrades are slim.
Well, if flip or fold is something that you like to look into your gadgets, then this is something you need to be looking out for. But in other news, we also have the influence and how social media is really making a point these days. We have doppelgangers that are now propping up, and well, it's easy for you and me to perhaps find one. But today we'll show you Virat Kohli's doppelganger with over 1.3 lakh followers on his Instagram. Kartik Sharma is in the limelight due to his looks. Well, he shares an uncanny resemblance to the former Indian cricket team captain Virat Kohli, and Sharma is in fact a software engineer hailing from Chandigarh. But beyond the physical likeness, Sharma does share a deep admiration for Kohli, making him an ardent fan of the renowned sportsman. Now, he is also a huge cricket fan and does play the sport itself. Several videos uploaded on his Instagram shows just not his looks that resemble Kohli, but also how he would take to the pitch. Let's also tell you all that you need to be looking out for through the day. Well, we do have the government, which is launching RVNL's offer for sale on July 27. That is today. They will look to divest about 5.36% stake in the company. And this is what investors or traders would really want to look for going ahead with its divestment plan and why the government has put out RVNL's offer for sale. We also are picking up from reliable sources that the GST Council is likely to meet on August 2nd, and this is perhaps to discuss the online gaming tax treatment as well as the changes in the law and how they take that forward. And in other news, we also have schools in Mumbai which will remain shut through the day because of the heavy rainfall. Now, those were all the cues for today, but with that, It's a wrap on this dose of Newspresso. Hope it was useful and informative and gives you that kickstart to your day. But don't forget to come back tomorrow, same place, same time, for your fresh shot of Newspresso. From everyone putting this show together, thanks so much for tuning in.